Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the show, Black Fridays, where we are focused on raising our children to be proud and black. My name is Freddie Taylor. I'm the CEO and founder of Urban Intellectuals and the Sankofa Club, where we make learning black history fun and easy. We do this with a series of historical education products designed to write the black community back into the pages of world history and back into the hearts and the minds of our community. Hey, do me a quick favor. If you're watching this show on replay, do me a favor and type replay. Most of you guys are probably going to catch this on replay, but if you're live or if you're watching on replay, say hello to me, right? Let me know that you're here. Give me a hello in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from, of course, right? We like to see where our people are watching from. I appreciate all of the participation in the comments there, right? Appreciate y'all energy, appreciate y'all feedback. I appreciate y'all showing up Friday after Friday and allow me to pontificate and discuss some of the wonderful elements of our history that I think are important, right? So I want to continue to get through this, right? So Black Fridays is an 8-week series that we've been running. This is already week number 6. Can you believe it? 6 weeks are gone already. Time flies truly when you're having fun. But we are focused on bringing your history, black history and empowerment and doing it in a way that's fun and entertaining, but engaging and motivating as well, right? So that's how we're focused on trying to change the world here on Black Fridays and with the Sankofa Club and all that we do. But we know that it takes just a little bit of an effort, just a little bit of a ripple, just a little bit of a tweak and a mind twist and some bit of information we know is a powerful that can disseminate throughout our community and can literally change the world. You change your mindset, you can change your environment, we can change the world together, right? Particularly when we focus on raising our children to have this information and to be understanding what it means to be proud and black. Okay, little couple more housekeeping notes. Black Fridays is broken down into 3 sections, right? We got our discussion section, we have our reason section, and we have our task section. So in our discussion section, you'll be doing this. You'll be getting this history and this culture directly from me as I'm discussing. Then in the reason section, I'll give you the reasons on why I think this particular individual, in this case, Malcolm X, is someone that you should not only know or be aware of his history and his background, but also why the next generation should be taught this information as well. And then finally, our task section, I'm going to give you a little bit of a homework assignment, right? I'm going to give you a couple of things to do that you can get involved with to take this learning to the next level, because we know that 5 minutes a day keeps the miseducation away, right? Give me 5 minutes in the comments if you're with me. 5 minutes a day keeps the miseducation away, and you're going to give me about 30 or so of those today. But we want to make sure that we keep keeping that heartbeat and keeping that mantra going, not only inside of this particular episode, but inside of the home, inside of your lifestyle, and for your children, right? To keep that going. We got to keep the heartbeat strong. So we want to feed that understanding continually. Okay. Couple more things. Sign up for Black Friday, sankofaclub.com/Black Fridays, and you're going to get all the extra resources that we give out throughout the week, right? So what you see right now on Black Fridays isn't the whole show, right? There's an email sequence that we have that has additional tools, information, and tasks that take learning to the next level, right? So sign up, you'll check that out, check out all the free resources. Once again, our sponsor is the Sankofa Club, right? Our sister company. The Sankofa Club is a resource that helps you as a parent educate your children on their black history and culture. Membership gives you instant access to worksheets, activities, and black history courses taught by our teachers 5 days a week and available on demand to allow your children to understand their history and their culture, to start to empower them and unleash their inner confidence and potential, right? But I got bad news. You actually can't even sign up for the Sankofa Club right now. What I need you to do is join our mailing list, right? So join the sankofaclub.com/Black Fridays. Why, Freddie? Why do I want to get on another mailing list? Well, one, you want to get the tasks that are associated with the lessons that I'm about to give today, or this talk that I'm about to give today, right? I'm getting fired up because I'm talking about my boy Malcolm. But also, we have a insane Black Friday offer coming for people who are fans of the Sankofa Club. If you're looking to take your children's understanding of their history and their culture to the next level, you're looking to take the lid off of their learning potential and then unleash their self-confidence and their full potential, then you don't want to miss this. We got a crazy, you're not I'm telling you, we're only allowing so many people into the club, and we're giving it to our list first. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna leave it right there. Don't join the list and miss out on this, but don't say Freddie didn't warn you, right? All right. Now, with that, let's get down to the get downs, right? Let's talk about my man, Malcolm X, right? El Hajj Malik Shabazz, right? For those that are in the know. But I want to talk about his 1964, the ballot or the bullet. Now, the first task that is coming up in this is you're going to have to watch the full ballot or the bullet episode. So on YouTube, we'll give you the link and all that good stuff. Don't panic and run out and grab it right now. Focus with me for the next 25 minutes or so. The ballot or the bullet, the brother lays it down in 1964. Could have been done yesterday here in 2020. I waited to after the election. I didn't want to hear y'all mouth talking about, oh, Freddie's a Trump supporter. He's trying to distract us from getting Biden elected. Look, I waited, but I feel like this is far too important. It has to be said, right? I waited. I debated. I didn't want to wait, but I didn't want to hear y'all mouth. And I'm just being truthful. I didn't want to hear your mouth whining about the people were just crazy over this election, right? So I don't really care what happens, and you'll see why. Check it out. If you want some additional insight to that, definitely read Malcolm X's autobiography, as told by Alex Haley. Great read. I recommend for teenagers. Definitely for teenagers. My boys read it when they were teens. Wonderful read for adults as well. Just make sure you pick it up so you can understand the brother on where he's coming from. I know typically I dig into the people's past, right? And then I bring y'all up to date. But this particular topic, this particular subject, politics, right? Economics is far too important. I got to delve right into the material and the meat that he lays out in the Ballad of the Bullet. But have no fear, Freddie's going to give you some history anyway, because I got to set the context, right? So as John Henry Clark said, the master teacher talked about, never discuss the situation till you understand how it came to be. So let's go back. How far back? Way back. 1863, right? 1863 was the Emancipation Proclamation by President Lincoln that so-called freed the slaves, right? So during my research, again, Dr. Clark and Arturo Schomburg taught me that you have to go listen to the white people's history, listen to their rendition of things to get an understanding. So that's what I did. So during this period, 1863, the war was quote unquote won and the Union was quote unquote put together, but they make it clear that those 2 years that we talk about Juneteenth in 1865 being the last people in Texas, right, gaining freedom or coming aware of the war. When I was listening to these historians, they were just saying, look, flat out, the South was not obeying the laws, right? And unless there were federal troops down there, they did what they wanted to do with the newly freed so-called slaves, right? The enslaved people. It wasn't until 1865 that you get the 13th Amendment, January 31st, 1865. And technically you are a full person and you can vote, right? But now this brings us into the era of Reconstruction. But this is really the budding period of Jim Crowism, right? Where you have all of these local and state laws that are being implemented on black people, suppressing our growth, suppressing our wealth. There was an opportunity after Reconstruction, right? But then the Southern segregationists got together and really started to put the foothold down on things, right? So then all of this comes ahead May 18th, 1896, with the Plessy versus Ferguson case, right? That upholds the Separate Cart Act, right? Basically talking about separate but equal doctrine, right? So if you have some individuals on a train car, you have to have a white section, you have to have a black section. As long as the situation is equal, the accommodations are equal, everything is okay. But yeah, equal. Come on. As long as the education is equal, it can be separate but equal, right? But yeah, come on. You already know that they wasn't doing anything extra to educate us in our communities. Truth be told, the funding is still way skewed in the communities in 2020. So you already know what was going on in the late 1800s, early 1900s, right? What y'all think about my new set like that, right? All right, I had to floss that out real quick, right? But check it out. So Lincoln quote unquote freed the slaves, as they can vote, what do you think that they are going to vote for, right? They're going to vote Republican. So black people were voting Republican at the time in droves, right? So then you have Jim Crow going on, and it is like horrendous, right? Things are really, really bad for black people in America. Lynchings, hangings, all of these things that you know that are the horrors of this country, that you know are true, that you know Trump is full of it when he was talking about making America great again. When was the country great? Somebody please tell me, because I know during none of this period, and I know you're not talking about doing slavery was great, right? None of this period is great by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm just always curious of when these people are talking about America was great, right? But I want to fast forward real quick. The quote unquote end of Jim Crow is 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, right? That ruled that separate but equal was unconstitutional. So now things have to start this integration process, and this sets up the 10-year period leading up to Malcolm's speech, the ballot or the bullet, right? But still, I just need to lay that foundation. Now let me go back one more again, because I was poking around and learning about the Great Depression, right? So what was the conditions that are leading up to the Great Depression? Because all of this is relevant because it's impacting black people all around the country, right? So they say if white people catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia. This is still true today. Our communities, at least economically, catch pneumonia every time they sneeze, right? And Malcolm gets to this point in the Ballad of the Bullet. I got to get to it. So let me keep going. All right. So you get the stock market crash in 1929, but they talk about how, that decade of the 20s was a really struggling period anyway, when you had a lot of overlending, extended credit, a lot of new consumer goods are being bought in the area. Stoves are coming out and all of these different things, but people are buying them on credit. So they're really extending themselves, right? So it's starting to sound like the bubble of 2000s, right? 2008 when it finally popped, or 2006, 8, whatever. Overextending, right? Overlending, right? Which is, man, there's so many interesting points in here. All right. So, Roosevelt comes along with his New Deal, right? So Hoover was kind of hands off. Let's just see what happens. Laissez-faire capitalism market. Let's see what happens and just try to manage the fallout. Roosevelt comes in with the New Deal, basically, right? And promising all this government spending and propping up support. And, you're talking about public housings and working with the unions and getting raises and Social Security and jobs and all of this stuff that was beneficial to really everyone, right? Including black folks, right? So black folks are getting really interested. So it becomes interesting because Roosevelt is a Democrat at the time, but there's so many Democrats that are Southern Dixiecrats, right? They talk about the Dixiecrats. They talk about these individuals, the racist Southern states, right? Basically jumped ship because they didn't want anything to do with this New Deal. Too many people was getting any advancement. And by too many people, I mean too many black people, right? So they change parties. They go to the Republican Party, and a good majority of black people shift over to the Democratic Party because they're like, man, let's get Roosevelt in. Let's get some of them wages. Let's get some public housing. Let's get this Social Security. Let's get these. This is sounding great. Let's vote for Roosevelt, right? Now the Southern Dems, right? Because some of them stayed, right? This is like the wolf in sheep clothing Democrats, right? They insisted on local control of the money and the spend, and guess what? Roosevelt capitulated, and local control meant what? This is why they love to say states' rights and local control and all of this stuff, because if they control it on their level in their states, they can run the same games that they was running during Jim Crow. They can run the same games of racism and holding down the black community as much as they possibly can, right? If you're looking for a good book, I don't have it handy with me on this conversation and really the economics of oppression, check out The Color of Money. The Color of Money is a really good one, right? It's also A Color of Law if you want to get deep into that. Boy, every time I get on, I swear I start sweating. All right, so I'm hustling. I'm hustling because there's so much, right? So you get the New Deal and you get a lot of black people moving over to the Democratic Party, right? Because now they're like, all right, we got an opportunity. But they say by 1960, about 2/3 of the black community were voting Democrat already, right? So they had jumped, but not everybody had jumped, right? So I found it interesting that there was a second mass exodus, right? So you had the first one with the New Deal. You get a second mass exodus around in the 60s, basically with Lyndon Johnson, right? So in 1964, 1963, 63 or 64, he signed the civil rights legislation, right? So a lot of black people jumped over to the Democratic. That was the rest of the exodus into the Democratic Party, was with the civil rights legislation, right? But everything was, he was up for re-election. He being Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson is up for re-election and all of this. And Arizona Senator, Mr. Conservative Barry Goldwater is the Republican choice to oppose him. And this is before the civil rights legislation is signed, right? So black people hear this and see Barry Goldwater. It's like, oh my goodness, like this is just like straight racism. Which is what he was, Mr. Conservative, right? All that state right business, all that stuff that I talked about, right? And he thought that Barry Goldwater thought the Civil Rights Act was unconstitutional, but he said if he got in office, he would honor it, right? Sure, right? Okay. So the rest of the black people flood out of the Republican Party and into the Democrats. Now they're Democrats, right? 1964, early 1960s, 1964, right? So they led the second mass exodus. But this QN Malcolm X, right? So now Malcolm is on the scene. April 3rd, 1964, he delivers his speech, The Ballot or the Bullet, right? Okay, so now, whoo, man, I'm telling you, this is pretty deep. Malcolm is that dude. You gotta listen to this speech, right? You gotta go back and listen to it and think about the context of today. But here's how he opens it up, right? First of all, it was a major election year, right? So I told you I waffled on should I do this before the election or not. Malcolm has more intellectual courage than I do. I'll admit that. The brother is a bad man, right? I spared y'all, right, this discussion before the election. But check it out. Here's another point of contention, right? That you might get your feathers ruffled just a little bit, right? But whatever, you'll live. He talked about leaving your religion at home. He said, leave your religion at home and let's unite. Because if we start talking about religion, then it's just going to separate us. He said, I am a Muslim teacher. I am a Muslim minister. And that's my faith. But I'm going to leave my faith at home because I'm going to show up as a black nationalist today to talk to you. He talked about Dr. King being a Christian minister, but he's known for his civil rights movement. He talked about Adam Clayton Powell being a Christian minister, but he's known for his political movement. He talked about these other Christian ministers, and he talked about them being ministers and having their religion, but let's all collectively leave our religion at home so that we can unite, right? Because anytime the black community come together and we start talking that religion, we just find ways to divide ourselves. And my God ain't gonna lead, then I ain't being involved. Listen, if your God is in your heart, your God is leading. He's involved in the movement. Just leave the words at home so that we all can unite. Listen, he talked about bringing together atheists, black intellectuals, black conservatives, black Christians, black people, because they need to start thinking black nationalism. Black so black. My thoughts so black, right? Y'all heard that song. I messed it all up, but it cracks me up, right? But I love that point that we got to leave our religion at home because it's time to unite. We've been playing games too long about allowing our oppressors to divide and conquer us, right? That thing that we're still developing or still fighting against, that was talking about separate but equal and Plessy versus Ferguson, that it of Jim Crow, that it of the black codes, that it of slavery, that Samuel McLeod was talking about when little Mary Mary McLeod Bethune was 8 to 10 years old going up to the big house. She gonna have to face it at some point. We're still facing that right? So he talked about they don't persecute, they don't hang you because you a Christian. They hang you because you black. They don't hate me because I'm a Muslim. They hate me because I'm black. Listen, until this day, that is the same thing that is going on. And we got to stop playing this game of allowing ourselves to be divided when we got so much in common, right? We're getting our butts kicked all around the country and the world, and we still finding ways. We're not a monolith. You're monolithically getting your butt kicked. It's time to come together. This is what Malcolm is speaking to, right? But he says, I am a Muslim minister, but I'm going to leave that at home. But today I'm a black nationalist. My my economics, my politics, and my social stance is that of black nationalism. And all that means is black people should control black affairs. The end. That's black nationalism. Ain't got nothing to do with oppressing anybody. Ain't got nothing to do with holding anybody else down. It's just us taking care of us. And this fight to integrate, he's speaking boldly about it, and he's talking about your political ignorance as well, right? So he's talking about a need for re-education. We need a political re-education. And it's something that we need to understand today. It's the same thing. We're in the same boat. Not politically astute, right? He calls you a chump. He said the Democrats do whatever they want in front of you because you're a chump. Now, in 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson and his administration had been in office for 4 years. They was running for their second term, and he was calling you a chump then because he said the Democrats hold the White House. The Democrats hold 2/3 majority in the House of Representatives. Democrats hold a 2/3 majority in the Senate, and you still can't get your needs attended to. Why? Because you a chump. You a political chump. I love it when he says that. I know it drives people up a wall, but the brother, he said, I'm not interested in telling you what you need to hear. I'm interested in telling you the truth, right? So I love that, right? I love that point. But he's talking about black nationalism, right? So we need politicians that we own and control. Not these Tim Cooks that come to us with dark skin, but they got white eyes and they're controlled by the white community. We need individuals that we bring up and we put in power and we put in control to represent us. This is what we need to do. He didn't go as far as saying having our own party, right? Which I've heard Stokely Carmichael or Kwame Ture talk about in Black Power. I thought I had the book handy. Looks like I don't. Black Power, the liberation, the politics of liberation, right? He talks about starting our own political parties, which I thought was a very interesting idea. Malcolm didn't go that far. He just really started to talk about not being a political punk, right? Because the thing about it is, he says, when the votes come down, white people are split. They 50-50. So this gives way for any minority group that is bold enough to come together and vote as one particular block to hold their vote hostage and get what they want from either party. Whomever you vote for is going to swing the vote. If all black people didn't vote and that didn't just wholeheartedly give the Democrats the election year after year after year, or give them their vote year after year after year, they will be forced to come to you and really work with you to get and earn your vote. That's what Malcolm is talking about in 1964. It's been the same ever since, but we haven't had the political courage or the political fortitude in order to stand tall and make demands without giving away our vote early, right? I think that the brother would be deeply disappointed in our political actions because we clearly did not listen to the ballot or the bullet at all, right? So same conversation when it comes to politics comes to economics. So he's talking about, listen, you got to own the stuff in your community. What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. He talks about the crazy thing about going out of your community to spend your money is we don't understand economics. Every time you spend your dollar outside of your community to somebody else, it enriches their community and makes your community poor. So you rushing around to spend all of your money everywhere else with all these other people, and meanwhile your community is falling apart. He says, and you got the nerve to start complaining about poor housing and conditions. You did it to yourself. You keep spending the money outside of the community. But then he says, man, what's even more foul is we're in a double bind. We're in a double trap. That's what he says. We're in a double trap. Because if you spend your money inside of the community, you find out nobody from your community owns stores in the community because we neglected the simple understanding of local economics and community economics and owning the stuff in your community. So that when you do get enough consciousness to buy locally in your community, every dollar you spend go to somebody that's not of the community, and they take that basket of money and they leave each and every night. And this is what's happening still in our communities, and we act like we don't understand what is going on. I always say all these PhDs, all these graduate degrees individuals, and we still can't figure it out. Maybe the education is miseducating you, right? I was doing a talk talking about Brother Carter G. Woodson, his Miseducation of the Negro, right? You think about that book, but he always talked about if your education isn't driving you to be of service to your people, then throw it out. So a lot of our educations need to be thrown out because we're not being of service to our people. We are just looking for an opportunity to grab some crumbs off the table and is willing to sell out your brothers and sisters any chance you get for an additional crumb or two, and they ain't doing nothing for us and as a whole. So those individuals need to be thrown out as well if they refuse to throw out their history or their education. But this economic education is something that he talked about us being political chumps over, right? But he talks about nationalism being the key for everybody that has found their freedom. For all the Asian countries, all the African countries found their freedom through nationalism. All of them. Even America found its freedom through nationalism. Taxation without representation. They started throwing tea in the harbor and called war upon the British Empire, who at the time, think about 1776 and what was going on in the British Empire. The sun never sets on the British Empire. It's that big. But those people were so fed up, right? George Washington, Alexander, is it Hamilton? Yeah, I think that's his name, right? All of the liberators, right? All the justice men. He said they messed up and told me they was patriots. They was patriots. He said it was nothing tame or docile about George Washington or any of those individuals involved in the revolution, right? But they did it through nationalism by wanting to control their local economy themselves, local politics, local economy, local taxation laws, everything. And he talked about them being upset at the time, and they ain't caught a tenth of the hell that black people have caught in this country, right? But still and yet, black people are still finding every reason and excuse not to unite and come together. It's time for us to stop playing these games. It's time for us to stop hiding behind our religions and reasons not to come together. It's time to stop hiding behind this nonsense of not being a monolith when you monolithically getting your butt kicked all over this country throughout every century of the country. It's time to stop all this nonsense, right? It's time to come together. Don't tell me we ain't got no interest. We got interest. And your kids got to grow up in this. You better stop playing around with these games, right? This is what the brother Malcolm was talking about. This is what he's talking about we got to have, right? We got to start getting our political maturity. We got to start getting our economic maturity. And we got to stop playing around. It's very clear what's happening. Y'all all know it. Let's stop playing the game. They're miseducating our children. They're doing it on purpose. They're doing it because it works. If they continue to miseducate your children, they know it's easy to continue to divide you. But if you come together and fight, not only can we get our equal rights, we can get what's just due to us, right? Period. But we need to do this together with a sense of nationalism, of black nationalism. If you ain't thinking black first, you need to get on. I ain't trying to debate with nobody. I'm not trying to reason with you. I'm not trying to understand. I'm just looking for the ready, willing, and able. And then we gonna get down with one another. And then we gonna build something special together. We gonna join the Sankofa Club and we gonna work together. We gonna form the packs that we need to fact. We gonna form the study groups that we need to educate ourselves and to grow our babies up properly. We gonna get together. The ready, willing, and able. This is not a debate any longer. I've listened to the master teachers. I done talked to you about many of these individuals on the wall behind me. I'm talking about another one right now with Malcolm X, right? Watch the Ballad of the Bullet. Ingest this information. Get it deep in your spirit. Get it in your soul. Most importantly, pass it to the next generation. So the reasons I want you to talk to your children about Malcolm is because of a couple of things. One, the brother transformed himself. Like, get a thorough understanding of his story. He was a petty criminal. I'm from Inkster, Michigan. Malcolm used to live in Inkster, Michigan, right? And then he was doing and selling dope, then with a conked out hairdo and all of that when he was coming up in Detroit, right? They called him Detroit Red. He ended up on the East Coast, ends up in jail, and that's where the nation really got a hold of him and turned him around, right? They built him up intellectually. First built him up morally, built him up intellectually, and built up his knowledge base. I love that he transformed himself. So I think that Malcolm should be a pillar in our community because of that, to remind us adults and our children that we don't have to discard all of our people. Just because they are wayward in the moment of their youth doesn't mean that we can't bring them back. And he's a classic example of that. I think that that's a poignant lesson for our young people to know and our parents to understand. Don't give up on our babies just yet, right? Independent thought and intellectual courageousness, right? I told you he was more intellectually courageous than I am because I waited. He would have gave it to you in your face day after day, week after week. Damn your election, right? I love it, but we need that ferocity in our youth. They need to understand what it looks like to be intellectually strong, intellectually powerful, right? And you can do that. You can build yourself. You can read books and take classes and study and build and grow yourself. Our children need to understand what that looks like in strong black men, right? And then finally, black nationalism. I mean, because we have to pass along this idea, this concept of black first. Listen, I'm not debating with nobody. It's black first or don't talk to me. I'm not into multiculturalism. I'm not into people of color. I'm not into this minority mess. Nah, I'm talking to one group of people, the non-immigrants. Let that sink in. The non-immigrants. We didn't immigrate into this country. Better wake up. Let's start working together now, right? Setting our religion aside, we're looking for every reason for us to come together. If that ain't a statement right there that you can't unite under, you gotta be kidding me. Get off of this telecast. Get away from us. We don't need you around, right? It's time. We got to stop playing. It's too late. We already been messing around way too long. It's time to get together and get serious, right? All right. So that's what I'm talking about. The reasons are transformation. It's a powerful thing. It's intellectual ferocity, right? Is everything. And then this concept of black nationalism. We really need to beat that into the heads. Now, here go the task. I want you to join our mailing list, SankofaClub.com/Black Friday, SankofaClub.com/Black Fridays. Come on. I'm telling you, this deal is going to be insane. But you're going to also get the additional work and links and videos and books that I've mentioned and recommended and some other things in there as well. So, because again, this Black Friday show continues throughout the week, throughout the weekend and throughout the week. Then I want you to listen to the Ballad of the Bullet. It's like 55 minutes or something like that, 57, 52, somewhere in there. You can listen to it. It's on YouTube. I will have the link in the email. You can check it out. You just got to hear this brother out. You got to hear the thought process. I was going to try to go through it and really hit you with it, but ain't no need to try to do this, brother Malcolm, right? That's my man right here. Yeah, I love that pose. Hand clapping has been done long enough. Let's go, Malcolm. Listen to that, man. I love to hear your thoughts. So come back, tag me, and let me hear your thoughts on after you listen to the Ballad of the Bullet. And then let me know if you thought I should have delivered it before the election. Then finally, introduce your children to the brother Malcolm. If you got our Black History flashcards, you can start that way. If you got younger children, name and facial recognition is a great introductory tool. For all of the people that we talk about, on the back of our flashcards, we got our bullet pointed information that you can start to get small bits of information into the brains of our young people. If you got teenagers, watch the Ballad of the Bullet with them and have a wonderful discussion, especially in this political light. And then read Malcolm X, his autobiography. Excellent read, but a great way to get his thorough understanding of his history and his background, right? All right. That's it. I'm done, right? I hope y'all enjoyed it. It was my honor and my privilege to bring that to you today. The Black Friday series has really lit a fire under me. I understand my place in this realm. I think I understand my place and where I'm at. I'm not a historian, right? I'm not a historian. I am an enthusiast that uses history to motivate and inspire people, right? So everything that you hear from me, you might not get all the little details. Hell, I might be off on a date or two. I don't want to know this information so I can hold it over your head and act like I'm better than you. That ain't what the point is. I want to know this information so that I can put the heartbeat back in you. And when I can get that heartbeat, that understanding of who we are, you know what I mean? Who were we before we were tampered with? Black history is bigger than slavery. Slavery isn't black history. Slavery has interrupted black history. Who were we before we were colonized? Who were we before we were tampered with? Who can we be again? Who must we be again when I put that heartbeat back in you? That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for the stories that inspire. I'm looking for the moments that start a revolution. I'm looking for the opportunity to put it in you so you can put it in your children. That's what we need. I'm looking for that heartbeat. All right, good people. I'm going to get back with you. I'll be back. The beat goes on, but you know what it is. Until next time. Love, peace, and Black Power.